Hello everyone, today we're diving into Chapter 4, Historical Foundations of Physical Education. We'll explore the evolution of physical education, sport, and fitness through major periods in history and the contributions of key individuals and societies that shaped the field. Here we go. So our objectives for Chapter 4 are that you be able to identify key events as catalysts for the growth of physical education, exercise science, and sport, but also be able to identify who the outstanding leaders are in the field and what was their claim to fame. Be able to discuss recent developments in physical education, exercise science, and sport, and draw implications from the history of that guide our profession and put that into recent developments. Sport history began to take shape as a recognized field of study in the late 1960s and early 1970s. This was part of a broader movement in academia to take physical activity, sport, and recreation seriously, not just as leisure activities, but as areas that reflect and shape culture, politics, identity, and society. Why should we study the history of sport? Really to understand how the past has shaped the experiences we have with sport today, whether that's how rules are written, who has access, or how sport reflects societal values. It goes beyond just dates and events. It's about asking critical questions. For example, how did urbanization influence the rise of organized sports in America? And how did Native American traditions impact early colonial recreational practices? How did racial segregation limit Black athletes' participation, and how did they resist and break barriers? And then what led to the creation of institutions like the NCAA to regulate and organize a college athletics? Sport history connects broader social issues such as inclusion, identity, power, and equity. This makes it an essential component of the larger discipline of kinesiology, especially for those entering the fields of sport management, education, or athletic leadership. Ancient Greece profoundly influenced the development of physical education and sport as we know it today. They viewed physical activity as essential not only for physical strength, but for developing a well-rounded human being. The Greek ideal focused on the unity of the mind, body, and spirit. This is where the phrase a sound mind and a sound body originates. It wasn't just about strength, but about balance, character, and intellect. The concept of arete was central to Greek life. Arete means the pursuit of excellence, not just in sport, but in life. Competing honorably was more important than just winning. Beginning in 776 BCE, sport and physical activity were celebrated through national festivals and the Olympic Games. These events weren't just for entertainment, they were sacred, often held in honor of the gods, especially Zeus. Athletes trained intensely and competed as a way to demonstrate their discipline, courage, and commitment to excellence. As you can see in this ancient amphora image, athletic achievement was admired and memorialized in Greek art and culture. From the Greeks, we'll now move forward to ancient Rome, where sport took on a much different role in society. As we transition from ancient Greece to ancient Rome, we see a significant shift in the role and meaning of physical activity and sport. In Rome, physical fitness and athletic skill were essential for one main reason: military success. Being physically fit meant being battle ready. Soldiers were trained for endurance, strength, and discipline, which directly tied into Rome's imperial goals. While Romans were exposed to Greek gymnastics after conquering Greece, they didn't embrace it the same way. Unlike the Greeks, who emphasized personal excellence and harmony, Romans were more interested in utility and entertainment. Romans preferred blood sports, public spectacles that entertained the masses. These included brutal gladiator contests, fights against wild animals, and man-to-man combat that often ended in death. These events were held in grand arenas like the Colosseum and were used to show imperial dominance, distract citizens, and reinforce social hierarchy. This contrast between Greek and Roman values tells us a lot about the purpose of sport in each society. For Greeks, sport was about developing the self. For Romans, it was about control, power, and public entertainment. Physical education in Germany wasn't just about movement, it had a clear purpose. The idea was to build strong citizens. Schools and communities worked together to develop programs that went beyond games. They aimed to shape character and promote discipline through physical activity. Programs focused on exercises that were both practical and structured. We're not playing, we're training, might have been the mindset. Activities included gymnastics, marching, running, wrestling, and organized games, all designed to instill teamwork, perseverance, and physical fitness. The underlying belief was that developing the body also contributed to the development of moral character and civic responsibility, a philosophy rooted in many early physical education systems. Now we move on to Germany, where we see the early formation of a formal physical education program that would later influence the entire world, including the United States. Let's start with Johann Basedoww, who lived from 1723 to 1790. He was a progressive educator who believed in educating the whole child, mind and body. He designed school programs rooted in the philosophy of naturalism, which emphasized learning through experience and harmony with nature. Basedoww was the first to include physical education as a formal part of the school curriculum in modern Europe. This was a revolutionary at the time. He believed physical activity was just as important as reading or math and helping children grow into healthy, responsible adults. Now we meet Johann Goltz, often referred to as one of the founders of modern physical education in Germany. He lived from 1759 to 1839 and expanded on Basedow's vision with a strong focus on structured physical activity. Goltz created an extensive outdoor gymnastics program. He viewed physical activity not only as a means of fitness but also as character building. His work, particularly the book Gymnastics for Youth, outlined exercises that blended health, discipline, and national pride. Together, Basedoww and Goltz laid the groundwork for what would become organized school-based physical education. Their influence spread beyond Germany and played a key role in shaping physical education systems in countries like the United States, Sweden, and Denmark. Next, we take a look at another German leader, Friedrich Jahn, who built a movement to train and unify youth through gymnastics. Continuing with German influences, let's now look at two other important pioneers, Friedrich Jahn and Adolf Spiess. Friedrich Jahn is known as the father of gymnastics that lived from 1778 to 1852. He developed the Turnverein movement, which uses gymnastics as a tool to unify and strengthen German youth, physically and morally. This was not just about exercise, it was about building national pride, discipline, and resilience. The Turnverein, or Gymnastics Association, emphasized group physical activity and civic responsibility. It quickly grew into a national movement and served as both a physical and cultural force during a time of political unrest in Germany. Now, Adolf Spiess, who lived from 1810 to 1858, followed in Jahn's footsteps, but with a focus on education. He strongly advocated for gymnastics to be included in school curricula, not just as a pastime or recreation, but as a formal subject like math or science. Spiess emphasized the importance of using trained teachers and tailoring exercises to contribute to the total development of the child. This meant physical education wasn't just about fitness, it was about developing character, focus, and social responsibility. Together, Jahn and Spiess helped transform physical education into a national institution, one that's grounded in structure, philosophy, and purpose. Next, we head to Sweden, where science and individualization began to take center stage in physical education programs. Next, we move to Sweden, where a different approach to physical education emerged under the leadership of Per-Henrik Ling. Per-Henrik Ling played a major role in the development of gymnastics in Sweden. Unlike the more rigid German and Danish systems, Ling's approach was less formal and more adaptable to individual needs. What set Ling apart was his use of science to examine the effects of physical education. He incorporated anatomy and physiology to study how physical activity impacts the human body, making his method one of the earliest evidence-based approaches to physical training. This scientific focus made the Swedish system more therapeutic and health-oriented. It wasn't just about strength or discipline, it was also about function, posture, and recovery. Ling's methods laid the groundwork for what we now think of as medical or corrective gymnastics. Another key aspect of Ling's system was nationalism. Just like in Germany, gymnastics in Sweden was used to promote national pride and unity. His programs were designed to build strong, healthy citizens who could contribute to the strength of the nation. Ling's legacy lives on in today's fields of kinesiology, physical therapy, and exercise science. We'll talk more about him in the next slide as well. So let's take a closer look at the contributions of Per Ling and his son Hjalmar Ling to physical education in Sweden. Per Henrik Ling, who lived from 1776 to 1839, was a visionary who developed gymnastic programs tailored to meet specific needs. He believed that physical activity should be not a one-size-fits-all, and he categorized gymnastics into 4 main types. Educational gymnastics to support learning and development, military gymnastics for physical readiness, and medical gymnastics for rehabilitation, aesthetics gymnastics to promote grace and coordination. Now, Ling also emphasized that physical education teachers must understand the effects of exercise on the human body. This belief was revolutionary at the time and helped lay the foundation for modern scientific approaches in kinesiology and exercise physiology. His son, Hjalmar Ling, carried this work forward from 1820 to 1886. He played a significant role in developing school-based gymnastics curricula that could be standardized and scaled across Sweden. One of Hjalmar's lasting contributions was the creation of the Day's Order, a sequence of daily exercises designed specifically for school children. These routines were simple, structured, and aimed at improving posture, coordination, and general health in a school setting. Together, Per and Hjalmar Ling helped position Sweden as a leader in scientifically based, health-focused physical education. Next, we shift over to Denmark and then Great Britain to explore how their contributions added unique cultural and educational values to physical education's development. Frans Nottsdal, often referred to as the father of Danish physical education, was born in 1777 and became one of the first individuals to systematically introduce structured physical training into the school setting. His efforts were especially groundbreaking in Denmark, where he worked directly with public schools to incorporate physical education into the national curriculum. This marked a major shift toward viewing physical training as an essential part of a student's development, not just an extracurricular activity. In addition to his work in physical education, Nottsdal played a significant role in military training. He was appointed as director of a training school for Army gymnastics instructors. Under his leadership, these instructors were taught to deliver disciplined, formalized exercises designed to improve fitness, strength, and readiness for military service. Nottsdal's approach reflected the growing belief at the time that physical activity should not only promote health, but also support national strength and discipline. His programs focused on command-based routines, meaning exercises were performed in synchronized and structured manner, similar to military drills. This approach later influenced both military and civilian physical education systems across Europe. What's especially notable is that Nottsdal's vision laid the groundwork for the professional training of physical educators, which continues to shape the world of physical education today. As we move forward, keep in mind how his emphasis on discipline, structure, and national service connects to the broader trends of the time, and how those ideas evolved in later physical education philosophies. As we move to Great Britain, we see a different emphasis in physical education, one that focused on sport, character, and moral development. In Britain, physical education placed a strong emphasis on organized games and sports, especially in schools. Rather than focusing solely on gymnastics or drills, British educators believed games could teach teamwork, discipline, and social values. One of the key figures in this movement was Archibald MacLaren, who led from 1820 to 1884. He believed that physical training should be treated as a science, structured, measurable, and grounded in reason. MacLaren also emphasized the importance of intellectual development alongside physical training. He promoted individualized exercise, meaning activities should match a person's fitness level, not a one-size-fits-all model. Another major concept emerged from this era was muscular Christianity. This philosophy argued that sport helps build moral character, promoting values like honor, fair play, and self-discipline. It aimed to reconcile sport and religion, especially in a Christian-based educational setting. MacLaren and others promoted the inclusion of sport in schools not just for physical health, but as a way to shape responsible and ethical citizens. With these global influences, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, and Great Britain, we now begin to see how the philosophies influenced the early development of physical education in the United States. The early modern era of physical education was shaped by influential leaders and national programs that led the foundation for contemporary physical education and sports science. In Germany, Johann Gutsmuth advocated for structured physical training, while Friedrich Ludwig Jahn initiated the Turnverein movement to promote gymnastics for national strength. Adolf Spies further advanced school-based physical education through organized drills and marching, while in Sweden, Per Henrik Ling developed a scientific system of gymnastics focused on therapeutic and military benefits, which was expanded by his son Hjalmar Ling. England contributed through the moral leadership of Thomas Arnold, who promoted character and development through sport in schools, and Archibald MacLaren, who introduced scientific training methods and built school gymnasiums. And that is all that I have for you today. I look forward to talking with you again in part 2 of chapter 4. Take care. Have a great day.